Now at 5, new teachers in Carthage get a look at the district with an orientation. Plus, Special Olympics Kansas gives athletes a chance to show off their bowling skills at a competition in Pittsburgh. And
President Biden heads to Finland after a historic NATO summit. I'm Natalie Brand with details of what leaders are saying about Ukraine's membership into the military alliance.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
in Carthage, about 30 new teachers will join the city's schools in the fall, fewer than half the number of new educators hired last year. This is KOAM News at 5. I'm Dow Quick. Continuing our series on how local school districts are getting ready for the upcoming semester, Carthage Schools' new hires went through a teacher orientation this morning. They'll start to have more training before classes start on August 21st.
It's less than it has been in previous years, and it's hard to put your finger on just one thing. Our pay is competitive, our benefits have improved over last year, and we're offering just things that we haven't offered before to our staff to keep them.
I am a Carthage alumni, so I graduated Carthage, and so Carthage was my priority, to be able to work in the community in which I live and I grew up.
While the district has only 2 teaching positions still open, Carthage is still looking for bus drivers, substitute custodians, and nurses and other employees. A hiring fair is happening 2 weeks from today. You can find the information about it on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Tonight at 6, KOAM's Fernanda Silva is going to tell us the story of 2 new hires who are not only familiar to each other, but also to the district. Let's check in with meteorologist Sam Lane for a first look at the weather.
All right, thank you very much, Dow. It's been a hot one across the area, which is what we were expecting yesterday. Heat advisories in effect for a large chunk of our area. Extreme heat warning down in our Oklahoma counties. But now we're watching storms developing up to the north and west. That is the start of a severe weather episode that we're expecting later on tonight. You can see temperatures are going to be falling from the 100s this evening down into the 90s, and then thunderstorms will be developing and erupting across our area to the north and west, and then rolling our way overnight with a low of around 72. The UV index tomorrow is going to be on the high side once again, but a little bit better, 10, which means about 15 to 20 minutes before you start to burn, so make sure you're taking the precautions on that. Looking down the lane, we have severe storms tonight, scattered storms tomorrow, slightly cooler for the weekend, and then the heat builds back, and I'll tell you more about that in just a bit.
See you soon. It was a competition at Pittsburgh's Holiday Lanes. Special Olympics Kansas hosted an event today at the bowling alley. It was open to the public, but it gave those with special needs the opportunity to get together and have some fun, knocking down some pins. More than 200 people came out to bowl, socialize, and make memories.
I think the biggest component of these events is inclusion, and having them come out and hang out with their friends and spend time with each other and build those relationships, and the socialization aspect of it is really, really important.
Special Olympics Kansas will host more events this month in Pittsburgh, including state powerlifting and flag football competitions. Just a reminder, KOAM and Fox 14 tomorrow will host a telethon to raise money for Hero Fund USA. Hero Fund was founded in 2016 in Blue Springs, Missouri. Its mission is to provide funding for first responder safety equipment and resources, including bulletproof vests, firefighting equipment, and water rescue equipment. The telethon is going to run all day, starting at 6 a.m. through 6:30 p.m. Brent Nargis with the Pittsburgh Police Department says being a first responder can be very rewarding.
Not only there's challenges, but certainly there's rewards to the career as well. Very noble profession, and there's lots of opportunities to serve the community, opportunities to see not only the positive side of things, but there's some challenging sides as well. But ultimately, it's how can we help people along the way, especially when they're experiencing certain challenges in their lives.
Again, the telethon is going to run from 6 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. You'll be able to donate through the Hero Fund website by calling or texting or in person. President Biden heads to Finland following a historic NATO summit. Member countries, countries committed to a pathway for Ukraine's entrance into the alliance. Natalie Brand reports from the White House.
President Biden capped the two-day NATO summit in Lithuania by emphasizing the military alliance's united front in rallying around Ukraine.
We are steeled for the struggle ahead. Our unity will not falter, I promise you.
During a meeting with the country's president, Volodymyr Zelensky, President Biden made clear that Ukraine's future lies within NATO. It's just unclear when.
It's going to happen. You're all moving in the right direction. I think it's just a matter of getting by the next few months.
Assurances that Zelensky considers a success following the first ever NATO-Ukraine Council, despite earlier expressing frustration over a lack of timeline.
At the end of the summit, we had, I think, this council and great success and security guarantees, as you said.
Ukraine walked away with a long-term security commitment from President Biden and allies while the war-torn country waits for full NATO membership.
Ukraine is now closer to NATO than ever before. Allies reaffirmed that Ukraine will become a member of the alliance.
With Russia's war on Ukraine still underway, allies say now is not the time since it would draw NATO countries into direct conflict. They also want Ukraine to meet certain conditions, including fighting corruption. President Biden now heads to NATO's newest member country, Finland, to meet with Nordic leaders. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Sweden's prime minister is going to be among the leaders attending the Nordic summit. This comes as Turkey's president today hinted that Sweden joining NATO could still take some time, saying a final decision rests with the parliament. Still ahead, some relief for your wallet.
Good news for shoppers. A new report shows inflation is easing. I'm Skylar Henry, and I'll tell you what that could mean for interest rates.
And next in Health Watch, we're going to meet a baby in Pennsylvania who just received the world's smallest pacemaker. Topping today's Health Watch, a new option for smokers who want to quit might be coming. A study led by Mass General investigator finds cysticinocline, a plant-based compound, is effective and well tolerated. The drug's been used in Eastern Europe for decades, but this is the first large clinical trial in the U.S. 21% of participants who used cysticinocline for 12 weeks were still not smoking 3 months later, compared to just 4% who were given a placebo. A family in Pennsylvania is relieved to have their baby back home. He just received the smallest pacemaker in the world. Reporter Stephanie Stahl shows us how doctors used an innovative approach to save this little boy.
Cameron Knowles is happy to be home. It's been a long road for the almost 8-month-old and his family.
For a while, we didn't know if he would make it.
Cameron was born with breathing and feeding issues, and he has heart block, which interferes with the electrical signals controlling heartbeats. To live, he needs a pacemaker.
None of the devices are made for children or designed for the pediatric body size.
Dr. Maoli Shaw at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia improvised with what's become the world's smallest pacemaker.
It sends an electrical impulse to the heart.
The tiny pacemaker the size of a AAA battery had to be specially adapted for Cameron. Then the team here at CHOP worked to get FDA clearance for humanitarian use.
Cameron is one of maybe 10 kids in the whole world to get this kind of pacemaker.
This is the device that's usually implanted inside an adult heart, reconfigured for Cameron to be placed outside his heart. It's a lot smaller than a conventional pacemaker, allowing for a less invasive surgery and quicker recovery.
The fact that it's the smallest in the world is just amazing.
Cameron's mom, Shakira Presley, says the decision to try something so new was not easy.
Just these decisions that you're forced to make as a parent, to just make sure that he's well, it's difficult. I'm just so thankful for that it was an option for us.
A tiny device making big dreams come true. Stephanie Stahl, CBS News, Philadelphia.
Now that he's home, doctors are going to be able to monitor Cameron's heart with a transmitter that's connected to that pacemaker. Eventually, the tiny device will have to be replaced as he grows. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, our pet vet on call.
Hi, I'm Dr. Eva Dudek from Parsons Pet Hospital. Coming up, we're going to talk about if it's okay for your cat to eat bugs.
We're looking at the risk of severe weather tonight as well as the heat. And of course, we'll have all the details on that in your forecast when we come back. Well, we were saying yesterday it was going to be hot today, and boy was it ever, with temperatures well over 100 degrees in many locations. Then when you factor in the dew points, it felt much worse than that. Now we're watching radar for storms to develop, and when they do, they're going to be pretty explosive. But things are calm right now, including Seneca, Missouri with Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Just a few puffy cumulus clouds out there and lots of blue skies, but that's going to be changing as we head through the evening and overnight hours. We made it up to 101 in Joplin today after starting out at 71. Of course, both the high and the low were above normal. And look at the rainfall. We're now 10 inches behind just for 2023, not counting the drought situation we were in the later part of last year. We do have hope on the horizon, though. We have storms developing in north central Kansas right now. And when this piece of energy intersects all of this heat and humidity, it's going to explode across the northern parts of our viewing area and develop into quite a complex of storms with severe thunderstorms, hail, damaging winds, and yes, an isolated risk of maybe a tornado or two. Right now, though, we're dealing with the heat. Heat advisory is in effect until 7 o'clock for southwestern Missouri. Northwest Arkansas and Delaware County is in effect until 8 p.m. and southeast Kansas until 9 p.m. Then an excessive heat warning for our Oklahoma counties until 8 o'clock tonight. So it's been definitely hot. How hot? How about 103 in Stockton? That's pretty warm out there. 101 in Lamar, 100 in Joplin, 100 in Welch. Some upper 90s for some of the cooler spots, 97 in Neodesha and 95 in Independence. But when you factor in the dew point, look at this. 119 is what it feels like right now in Veneta. That is just unbearable. 108 in Pittsburgh, 108 in Fort Scott. A little bit cooler at Nevada with 102 and 102 over there in Mount Vernon. Now tomorrow it's going to be hot once again, especially with the heat indexes close to 110 or above, mainly on the Oklahoma side, 116 in Welch and Veneta again tomorrow. A little bit cooler or tolerable up towards the north, but it's going to be hot yet again tomorrow. Friday, we finally get a little bit of a break in the heat with heat indexes in the 90s as we go into Friday. Big chance of storms tonight, and then they decrease a little bit, and then they come right back again tomorrow night. So we're going to be seeing several waves of storms. Right now, there is an enhanced risk of severe weather in southeastern Kansas and southwest Missouri northward, and the primary threats are going to be the large hail and potentially damaging winds. Rainfall amounts are going to be generous in some localized spots. That's the GFS model. The European model is also quite generous with the rainfall amounts in some scattered, isolated areas. So here's the forecast for tonight. Storms expected to develop way up to the north, and then it forms into a squall line and rolls through our area as we go into the overnight hours. And by tomorrow morning, we'll see temperatures in the mid-70s. And then tomorrow, we'll see scattered thunderstorms once again with highs in the mid-90s. And then as we go into Thursday night and Friday morning, another wave of storms rolls into our area. Let's take a look at the next 7 days. We have 40% chance of storms, alert day tomorrow, and then we get a little bit cooler now, if you want to call lower 90s cooler, and then look at what happens as we go towards the latter part of next week. Right back into the furnace.
But boy, multiple storm chances for the coming days. That's certainly welcome.
Hopefully we'll get several inches.
All right. Thanks, Sam. Coming up, the latest inflation report shows some relief for all of us. We're going to break it all down. Topping today's Consumer Watch, inflation shot up during the pandemic, but a new government report shows it's now getting closer to normal levels. Reporter Skylar Henry is in Washington with a look inside the numbers.
Prices at the pump are down more than $1 in the past year, according to AAA. That's good news for Adam Ross. He's buying gas for his truck and his boat.
That was about $520 to fill up. This year, I think it was around $340 to fill it up. So, I mean, the difference is drastic this year compared to last.
A trip to the grocery store is still expensive, but prices in June ticked down from the previous month, with eggs and milk seeing significant declines. That helped get inflation to 3% in June, the lowest level in more than 2 years, and way down from the 9.1% we saw last year.
We are looking to see that inflation rate come down to closer to 2%. That's where it was before the pandemic began.
Inflation moving closer to normal comes after the Federal Reserve boosted interest rates 10 times over the past 16 months. Last month, the Fed hit pause on another rate hike. but that's expected to change when the board meets later this month.
It is likely that we see the Fed go up by 1/4 percentage point. We'd be at 5.25% to 5.5% in the federal funds rate. And if so, that would be the highest level in 16 years.
The Fed has said it will continue to raise rates as needed until inflation gets down to 2%. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Washington.
Fewer small businesses are raising their prices. That's according to a survey from the National Federation of Independent Businesses. 29% of respondents said they raised prices in June. Economists say that's still very inflationary, but it is the lowest level since March of 2021. The survey also found that 42% of small businesses are having trouble filling job openings. Google faces a potential class action lawsuit for allegedly scraping personal data from millions of users without their permission. It's from the Clarkson law firm, which filed a similar lawsuit against ChatGPT maker OpenAI last month. Court documents filed in California named Google, its parent company Alphabet, and its AI subsidiary DeepMind. The lawsuit points to the tech giant's privacy policy that says it can use publicly accessible information to train its AI models. 100,000 Floridians will lose their insurance coverage as Farmers Insurance announces it's pulling out of that state altogether. The company said in a statement it's going to stop offering its insurance in Florida, including home, auto, and umbrella policies. Farmers said the move was necessary to manage its risk exposure in that hurricane-prone state. They are the fourth major insurer to pull out of Florida in the past year. Our Pet Vet on Call, next. Up next on the CBS Evening News, how artificial intelligence is helping preserve the voices of patients with ALS. Then on KOAM News at 6, we're going to have more on Orientation Day for new teachers in Carthage as they gear up for back to school. Plus, Missouri Southern celebrates 20 years since acquiring university status. And Pitt State announces its full football schedule. We're going to break it all down for you. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. Whether your pet is an inside or an outside pet, they might eat some things other than the food you give them. Today's question for our Pet Vet on Call is, my cat sometimes catches and eats bugs. Can any of them be toxic?
Not by ingesting most bugs. Most bugs, if they eat too many, might cause an upset stomach, some vomiting, some nausea, GI issues like that, but it's usually self-limiting and it goes away. When the toxicity tends to be a bad thing is when these bugs bite or sting and inject their venom into the cat's lips, tongue, cheeks, when they're chewing on them while they're still alive. That could cause issues. It could cause severe inflammation, ulcers, infections. So if your cat has its mouth open and it's drooling excessively after a bug episode, that may be the condition, and then it needs to be seen.
We invite questions from anyone. If you have a question, you just send it to petvet@koamtv.com. Dr. Eva Dudek from the Parsons Pet Hospital answers a different question or brings us a fun fact every Wednesday right here, KOAM News at 5. You can also find answers to previous questions on our website. All right, let's check out our picks of the litter for the week. From the Joplin Humane Society, we have Smidge, a male short-haired kitten. We also have Drax. The shelter says he's an adult male short-hair. If you're looking for a pet, why not at least check out your local Humane Society. A couple of cute ones there. They always have lots and lots of cute ones to choose them up. Possibility of some storms tonight,
We
Sam.
do. We have a possibility of severe weather tonight, and of course we're watching the radar very closely. Be sure to stay tuned and also check us out on our web, on the website as well as our app, and we're going to continue to monitor that. And then of course we're going to be watching for waves of storms possible as we go through the forecast for the next several days. And of course the heat's going to stay with us though, with temperatures in the 90s and lows in the 70s, and then it gets hot once again as we head towards next week.
Let's hope that rain is widespread and heavy.
Me too.
Thanks for joining us. CBS Evening News is next. We'll see you right back here at 6. Let's make it a great evening.